again. So what is a time that you experienced failure, and what advice do you have for overcoming that feeling?
So I think the first time I experienced failure, because there have been many times, the first one that hit me really hard was when I was auditioning for colleges. And I remember very vividly getting rejected from two schools that I really wanted to go to. And I didn't even get rejected from the school, I got rejected from the pre-screen. So I couldn't even audition for them. And I was like, this is it. This is it. Like, I obviously can't do this. I'm obviously not cut out to do this if I can't even pass the pre-screen for these schools. Um, and something I'm a very firm believer in, and it has never once been wrong in my life, is that everything happens for a reason. And I always say no things have to happen for other things to happen, but when things do happen, it's oftentimes for a reason. Um, and I know in my heart that had I passed those pre-screens, had I gotten into those schools, I would not be the person I am today. I wouldn't have met my partner of almost 4 years now. I ended up going to a school that gave me so much, and that was exactly where I needed to be. Um, and it was also a great reminder that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You are going to bring the exact same thing to the table, and people are going to have such varying opinions of it. And it's taken me up until this point. I think there was a point last year where I have been confident in myself enough in my abilities to be like, you know what? That person had some really not nice things to say about what I brought to the table. But I know in my heart that I've worked in this material and people have liked this material and it's gotten me jobs. And I know in my heart of hearts that this is good, and that just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so hard in this industry. I do theater. I mean, not professionally yet, but yeah, it's so hard being in it. Like, it's always, no matter how confident you may feel in yourself, you can't make someone else like your performance, or make someone else like the way that you
Yes.
perform a character or audition for something. And I think that's really great advice, especially in this industry. um yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really tough. Okay, so who so who, real or fictional, is your biggest inspiration, and what have you learned from them?
My mom, for sure. So my mom, my mom passed about a little over 2 years ago. Um, and she was a teacher. She was a theater artist. She was all sorts of things. But she always instilled in me, when I was really young, I vividly remember her saying this to me is, Cara, I don't care how talented you are. I don't care however many people tell me your daughter is talented. Oh, your daughter, all that kind of stuff. The only thing I care about is when someone comes up to me and tells me, your daughter is so easy to work with. Your daughter is so enjoyable to be around. I love working with your daughter. She's like, that matters more to me than anything else. And that stuck with me throughout most of my life. Um, my mom was an incredibly kind and giving person, but did it all in secret. So like she would tell me about these things, but she would tell no one else. So, she would be at the vet with our dog Maisie, and she would see this young couple who brought in this dog that was very sick and realized that their dog had to stay for a couple days, and they were trying to figure out how to afford it. And when they went into the back room, my mom would go up, pay for all 3 days, and just leave. And no one would ever know. Like, I remember a week before she passed, she sent me a picture of a baby in a stroller, which is not uncommon for her because she loved kids. But I was like, why are you sending me this small child, like, with no context? And it was a mom that she had found on our local town Facebook group that was like, does anyone have any toy donations? I'm having my third child. And, obviously the toys have been cycled through and damaged. And my mom furnished her whole nursery and bought them all Christmas presents. And she would never tell anybody about those things that she would do. But it's inspired me and my brother to kind of do those exact same things. But yeah, it's definitely my mom. I also would not have the love of theater, the career, the voice, or the passion that I have without her. Because she raised me, her and my father both raised me on You're Good Man Charlie Brown CDs, Godspell, and all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was your biggest struggle during your teenage years and how did you work to overcome it?
Yeah, so from a pretty young age, when I was about 12, I developed a pretty severe eating disorder, and it followed me through most of my life. It's followed me from that point on, and it's changed and it's evolved with how, um, with my own career and my, going to college and graduating from high school. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I actually went to a treatment center and really got some serious help. But it was hard. I would say that that was probably the biggest struggle was, performing and balancing this love and this joy of performing in art and this busy schedule and college auditions and high school, being a student with something so serious. Um, and it wasn't until these last few years that I have really seriously been, I would say, in a solid form of recovery. In high school, it was, I was still an adolescent and I still lived with my parents. But then when I got to college, it was a different ballgame and things changed and it evolved. However, I can say that I kind of going back to nothing has to happen for other things to happen, but there's always a result when they do. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I probably wouldn't even be talking to you today if I hadn't, experienced that kind of thing throughout high school and throughout my teenage years. It has led me to find something that I'm so passionate about, which is talking about this kind of thing in our field, in this industry that so often isn't. And, being able to share that journey and that experience so that someone, because I know when I was in high school, I needed so badly to see somebody in our field who was talking not on the other side of it, but actively going through it, if that makes sense, and sharing just how they were doing that. And I never had that. And I so vividly remember the one day about 2 years ago that my nutritionist said to me, well, why can't that be you? And I was kind of like, yeah, why can't that be me? And 2 years later, here we are. Um, and I truly, I thank, I thank that part of my life. And I try to give myself grace when I think back on it, because ultimately it has led me to where I am today.
I watch your videos on like what I eat in a day as a performer to while I'm recovering to help keep my energy up throughout the day. And I really appreciate that kind of content. And I can tell you that your platform and making those videos really does make a difference and really does inspire people. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. That means so much to me.
So what book or TV show or movie or musical or play or anything else do you wish that you've been introduced to sooner in life and why?
Oh gosh. Um, God, I'm trying to think. I was reading this question. I was like, oh God, what am I going to say for this? I feel like the show, like the musical that I wish I was introduced to earlier in life was Into the Woods. Um, because that music and that story, oh my gosh, has carried me through so much of life. I think it is applicable in every sense of the word. I think that show is one of the few shows that has something to offer for every single span of life, from like 5 years old to 100 years old. That show has something to offer everyone and at different times. I remember I did that show twice. And I know that if I did it when I was a senior in high school, and if I did that show um, now in my life, it would mean something entirely different than what it meant to me at that time. And it meant a lot to me during that time. Um, but it was just so beautiful. That and Little Women. I was obsessed with some of the music when I was in middle school and in early high school, but I never really knew the story. And after doing it this last fall, I couldn't help but think like, God, I wish so much I had looked into this show so much earlier, because it isn't often that you find a show with that many female protagonists that have something so important to give. And each one of them has an equally important story to tell. And oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. But yeah.
So interesting that you say that, because I actually just played, I'm a junior in high school. I just played Little Red Riding Hood and Into the Woods in February. And
no way.
And last year for my sophomore year, we did Little Women and I was Beth. So it's interesting. It is so interesting that you say
oh my God.
it's amazing.
It's so crazy, but it's so true. Those shows are special. Yeah. They are always special.
They are. And I felt so bonded as a cast. You know, I say all the time, I think, and especially we did both those shows during COVID with some element of COVID, even if it wasn't. I mean, Little Women, we wore masks for the actual show and the whole rehearsal process. And I remember like actually having like a stick that was 6 feet long that was like, okay, we have to block you on either end of the stick. And like for a show like Little Women, that's really hard to do because it's obviously like a family show. It's a very, you know, tight. Yeah,
intimate. Yeah,
it really is. And we were very close as a cast too, which helped a lot to portray that. And we were so proud of our final product there. And it's something that that is a show that will always be special to me, and to the rest of that cast. And then Into the Woods as well was just such an amazing experience. And it really was just such an incredible, it was just really incredible. It was just, I really loved it. And there was deep everything. Yeah.
You can't do either one of those shows without it just being so special. They just lead themselves to being that, you know, because you have to, it hit like it, they strike a chord in everyone in a different way. You know, like I remember doing Little Women, and the guy that was playing Professor Bear, he had recently lost his sister around the exact same time that I had lost my mom. And it was it was my first show that I had done post losing all of the women in my life who have raised me. And it was one of his first shows after losing his sister. And like that, talk about, you know, I remember I was in New York and I was getting so frustrated. I was submitting for things. I wasn't even getting callbacks. And I was, what am I doing wrong? And my dad's girlfriend was like, something that you have to be a part of is coming. And if you got those jobs, you wouldn't be able to be a part of it. Like, just wait. And I was like, I know. And then Little Women came along. And like, it's so true, you know, like it is so true. Opportunities that are meant for you won't pass you by. And they are like that show. I'm so grateful that was not only my first show post-pandemic, first show post-grad, and the first show since losing my mother and my grandmother. So like the first show I was doing without them. You know, it was so powerful to be able to do that show.
It's just such an incredible script, and I actually didn't really know much about the show before I auditioned. And I ended up working, the girl who was playing Jo is one of my closest friends. And so Some Things Are Meant to Be Seen and all of our, everything that we did together just had this added layer of I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so special.
No, you can't. You can't put it into words.
You really can't. It was just amazing. And then for Into the Woods, which we just did, we started working on the show in October. And the girl playing Cinderella was the same girl who played Jo. And so for No One Is Alone, when we had that scene together, we actually lost someone who was a close family friend of both of ours in December. And so doing the No One Is Alone scene just felt so, it didn't feel like we were acting in that. And that was like, we were really just talking to each other and really just genuinely needed each other in real life as well as in the show. And so I just think it's incredible that theater can do that and bring people closer together like that. And those two shows specifically, there's just so much, there's just so many layers and so much depth and just, it's just such an incredible, you're right. It's so special to work on either of those shows. And I'm so grateful, and I feel so lucky that I had the opportunity to work on them both in high school, in the middle of my high school career and in the middle of COVID and all of that. And I think you're absolutely right. I think those two shows are just, it's hard to match those. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Thank you so, so much. Is there anything else that you want to add? Any other stories you want to tell? Anything that you think is...
Gosh, I don't think so. I mean, I graduated high school with a bunch of girls who got their gold awards. And so congratulations. This is huge. I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of it. That means so much.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do it. I really, really appreciate it. I do.
Of course. Oh, I'm so happy to.
I do have one more quick question for you. What is your favorite flavor of Girl Scout cookie?
Oh my God, for sure, 100% the lemonades. They're my favorite.
Okay.
They always have been. I love them. That or the shortbread cookies. But if I have to choose, I'm gonna pick a lemonade.
Okay. Okay. So see, my council actually we have two different bakers, and the baker that we use.
What'd you say?
We have two different bakers, and the baker we use doesn't make the lemonades. Do you happen to have another favorite flavor?
The shortbreads are also my favorite. I love the like classic. I don't know they're not the shortbread ones anymore. What are they called?
The trefoils?
They like have a name. Yes, that's what they are.
Yes.
So boring, but I love them.
They are a little boring, I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's because I grew up eating them. I think that's why.
Okay. So they're like,
but I love them. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so, so much. I really do appreciate you being here and doing this. I know I've said it a million times, so I'm gonna say it again. And I will keep you posted with when I'll be posting this and when I'll be posting about it. And there is a website, journeystrongwithlindapage.com. I also have social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube is going to be up and running shortly. So thank you so much, and I will keep you posted on everything that I'll be posting, and I will send it to you before I post it.
Great. And let me know if you need anything else or if I can help in any way. Just let me know.
Thank you so much. Actually, wait, I do one more. I can't believe I almost forgot to ask you this. Is there anybody else that you can recommend?
Oh, you're right.
Is there anyone else that you can recommend to me that you think this project might be a good fit for that I could interview?
So I have two friends who have a podcast. And I graduated with them. They were both from Elon, and they are, one of them is, they're both kind of doing the same kind of thing. It's a podcast based on graduating from college and going out to the real world and being like, what am I doing? Do I want to do this? And kind of breaking the mold of knowing exactly what you're supposed to be doing and being fearless women in this world. And they are both queer, plus-sized women, who are so much fun. I'll email you their social media. Their names are Sarah and Audrey. One of them was my college roommate. And they are so fantastic. I'll send you all their social medias and stuff. But they're two really cool girls that I couldn't recommend more.
Awesome. That's perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.